War Eagle, everybody. We are here, the War Report game day. It is time to get it going. LSU versus Auburn. Man, it's always a wild one when the Tigers meet up. We hadn't been looking too good in this rivalry. Mike G, how you feeling today? Well, hold on. Let me get the preliminaries out of the way. Of course, you can like and subscribe to us on YouTube, The War Report. We are there, The War Report, on Instagram and Twitter, as well as TW Report on TikTok. We're probably going to have somebody live tweeting during the game, so make sure you are following us on Twitter today to make sure you're getting in tune with everything. Anyway, how you feeling today about the game, Mike?
Oh man, listen, LSU Auburn is always crazy. It's either we win it close, they win it close, or they blow us out. Like those
Right.
are the
We
only.
almost. It's been a long time since we've seen Auburn blow out an LSU team. So yeah.
Yeah, been a really long time. So we've got. I think if my memory serves correctly, we only have 5 wins against LSU since 2003.
Yeah.
So it is a rarity for us to kind of beat them. They've had our number. The games that we have won have been insane finishes.
Right.
With some sort of clock controversies, you name it, it's happened in this rivalry. Today I'm just hoping we can make this a little bit more competitive. Brennan is not playing. He was having a great season, before he got sidelined with injury. So the backup,
I would say Miles Brennan probably was second, third best in the conference quarterback wise. Yeah, he was there. Him and Kyle Trask, you could probably flip a coin for those two the way that he was playing so far this season. So it's definitely a blow to their offense to not have him. But they looked good last week without him, so we'll see what happens this week. It's really their defense that if LSU's defense comes to play, this is going to be a tough game for us, right? But if we can control the ball, and we talked about this on the midweek broadcast, if we can control the ball and really deliberately move the ball down the field, run the ball down their throat, I find it hard for LSU to get enough at bats to win the game, and that's the thing that I think really is going to be our key to victory is limit possessions for LSU, ball control, getting first downs. Like we need to see a lot of third down conversions, and that's going to be my stat for the game is what is our third down conversion percentage?
Right.
If we have, 70, 80% third down conversions, I think we win this game. If our third down conversions are dipping down below 60%, it's going to be a tough one for us.
Right. I agree. Last week, we made some improvement in that regard. Right. So I'm looking to see if they can build on that. Bo played his best game on the road we've ever seen, right, from him. So this game's at home. What I'm looking for here is I'm just looking to see if we can build on some of the positive things that happened last week, right? I think a win is going to be hard for us, honestly, in this game, just based on team chemistry and chemistry on offense and War Eagle Caesar. It's going to be a tough
popping in here. Let me bring him in the conversation. B. Will, what's up, man?
What's good? What's good? My bad, gents.
It's all good, brother. Appreciate you hopping in, but go ahead, Mike. Sorry to interrupt your flow, man.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a tough game for us, no matter what. I don't think Auburn wins this one big. If there's a chance of that, it will be because we get to their freshman quarterback, right? But again, he looks solid. I trust that LSU is going to have a solid game plan to kind of keep him within himself in this game. We have a slight edge rushing. We're averaging 161 yards a game. They're averaging 140 yards a game. So really, what it really will come down to is, can our offense be productive? They're going to find their opportunities. We just need to limit them. If we give up their season averages, 42 points a game, 470 yards total, there's no way Auburn wins this. So we're going to have to hold them below their season averages. I'm looking for our defense to hold them somewhere in the 28 to 35 range. And then we need our defense to make plays today, right? So they need to go out. They need to first force a couple turnovers, set Bo up with a short field, and then we need to be able to take advantage when those opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, for sure. B. Will, what are you feeling about today's game? We talked about it already earlier this week, but how are you feeling about it game day?
I feel pretty much the same. I mean, I can't say too much has changed. We know that it's definitely going to be the second string quarterback and not Brennan. which has got to be good news for us because even if he has had some experience, this would be his first road game. Kevin Steele, again, always want to give him credit. He's a good defensive coordinator, so he can confuse some guys. If he can make it hard for Joe Burrow and those weapons that he made last year, granted with a lot more pressure coming from the line, but he can confuse a freshman quarterback. And we've got the secondary players who have the experience to confuse and take that game plan and do something with it. Now, like I jumped in and heard Mike say, Bo Nix is still he touches the ball too much and he's too unpredictable and unreliable for us to feel confident about any game we play. So I'm still sitting in the same spot, which is a reluctant Auburn win would be my prediction because Gus wants to keep his job, and this is the one. Well, he'll win it and say we beat the defending national champs, and he'll put that in his hat and then coast to a mediocre rest of the season. And I can't build any excitement. Like I want to be excited and say, yeah, here's where we jump off, and here's where Bo gets better, and we look better because Bo will put 2 games back to back that look good. I don't have any confidence in him or Gus. I just know that self-sustaining and self-preservation is Gus's strongest motivation, and he will win this game, is my belief, just to keep that going.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying earlier, Mike, about kind of rushing averages, right? Like we're barely beating them in rushing averages. We really just started to build our rushing identity. And it's unfortunate that we had the injury on the offensive line. I'm looking forward to seeing how the backups play in that spot, considering they have a pretty ferocious pass rush with LSU this year. But I do think that we're going to perform above average on rushing. Like we're not going to. I think we will far surpass what our average rush total has been thus far this year, just because we're going to see more of a concentration on the running game. And because, again, LSU just frankly has not been great against the run this year. I just don't know how they turn the corner that quickly. The only way I can see that being problematic is if the new guy in there is blowing assignments consistently, because our running backs are just, right now, our running game is just too good. We got apparently a Georgia fan, I guess, in here.
Go Picks. I like that one actually. That's funny. We're not Bo Nix fans here, so no offense taken. The kind of playing on what you said about the running game here. Any game plan that does not involve a heavy dose of Tanks Bigsby is already a failure. He has been building from week to week, showing steady improvement. He is running the ball harder and faster every single game. And I want to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's on his second or third straight 100-yard rushing performance.
Last week was his third one, so if he gets another one today, it'll be 4 in a row. Yeah.
Right, and that it's been a long time since we've seen that at all.
But
right?
Let's think about that. He has just south of 600 rushing yards this season, and he's
432,
just south of 500. So he's gotten over 300 of them just in the last 3 games, right? And so we're talking about a rush game that's on the incline against an LSU defense that has been bad against the run. So I think we're going to smash our average this week running the ball. Again, we've got Sean Shivers back. He's another week healthy. And then, DJ Williams is going to get another week healthier this week. So I think we're going to have enough ammunition to just consistently do that, throw different run looks at them. Right. But we've got to be committed to that. And that's really what we've seen as a frustration specifically with Gus Malzahn as a guy who likes to run the ball is not a lot of variety in the way that we want to attack teams. That's changed this year. I think that's going to be credit to Chad Morris and just the dynamic of the way he likes to run the ball. It's not just all zone runs, not all zone reads, but Bo Nix being in the run game last week was super helpful. I think we're going to have a lot of good at bats at running, but we have to stay committed to it even after LSU scores. If LSU comes out and gets up 14 early, it's still enough time for us to run the ball. We don't have to get it all back immediately. Get into the run game, recontrol the clock, and just chip away at it. I need to see them stay committed to the run.
If you remember, again, preseason, I talked a lot about how, in the absence of, a run game with a patchwork offensive line, that the short passing game would have to fill the the gap there, right? To take some pressure while the offensive line gels. That didn't really develop. We're very fortunate that we're 3-2 and not 1-4, right? So we're having a very different conversation today than we could have, if the ball didn't bounce our way, in a few of these games. So now that the run game has actually had time to develop, and we've kind of seen what Bo Nix's maturation process has produced, right? Not a lot of change over last year. Going into this, what I'm really looking for is the offensive switch, right? From, pass heavy to run play action, because that's how this team has been under Gus Malzahn. Now, I want to give Chad Moore some credit and just, I want to believe he's just not running Gus's system, right? But in Gus, all we have to go on is what we've seen. And in Gus's system, Nick Marshall, Cam Newton, we had some success with Jarrett Stidham, but we had much better running backs and a much better O-line. That first year Stidham was in our offense, we went 10-3 that year. But with Bo Nix here, with a fairly athletic quarterback, because I'll give him some credit. Listen, he can run, he can move, he can get out of trouble when he needs to, right? But we can't lean on that. He's not going to take the game over with his legs, right?
No, for sure. He's got to pick his spots.
Yeah, he just needs to keep the defense honest with his legs, right? So that the threat of him keeping it is enough to keep the defense honest, right? So, but we need to be a running football team. And then when they start to creep up, Bo has to hit his shots. Now, he did that last week. The pass to Seth Williams was as good as it gets on a touchdown pass. Great pass, great catch, great touchdown, game winner, right? And we just need him to make those passes when we need him to, but we don't need him to go out there and try to do that every drive. That's where he gets in trouble. That's where a lot of his turnovers come from. So, I'm not sure. Honestly, Keontae's I'm not even sure what we're watching on offense. I
definitely think it's a hybrid of the concepts. I think that there is a little bit of Gus in there, but I think a lot of what I see different is specifically in the route tree that's happening on the back end. Yeah. And then again, some of the way that the blocking assignments are happening up front are a little bit different than what you typically have seen from Gus in the previous years. We're doing a lot of it. It's more unique, and I think that's the thing that keeps our run game able to sustain for 4 quarters, as opposed to some of the years you've seen previously with Gus Malzahn, where people figured out in the first half and they're like, okay, this is what they're doing. Cool, this is how we're going to attack it. It's like, well, you have to read the keys that you're going to have to read on the offensive line are going to be different from snap to snap. It's not going to be the same key every single time. And so that's just going to be incumbent on us to continue to keep the defense guessing and figuring out what we're attempting to do to attack them. And again, we'll have to give props to Chad Morris for giving some more variety to that pass game that allows the back end defenders to not be able to creep up as frequently. And then across the front end, we're just blocking it up really well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to happen this game.
In fairness to Chad Morris's scheme, right, I think that a lot of it has been limited by the non-maturation of Bo.
For sure.
Right? So in fairness to what we're watching, I'm saying I don't know what we're watching. We knew we had some things that needed to happen on the offensive line. I think they just thought they were going to be able to lean on Bo's arm more than they have been. And that hasn't gone as well. Why are we not right? Oh, that was going to be my next point. I want to see Anthony Schwartz involved in this game. And when they say sending him on deeper routes, I would disagree and say he's been getting overthrown.
Yeah.
When he's been.
See, here's the thing. I don't mind. I don't like the overthrows. I want to see it. I want to see them take the shots early, just so the defense is like, okay, that dude was past us, dude. If he hits that shot, that's a touchdown, right? So now we've got to play it honest. They've got to take a shot 1 or 2 times early in the game just to let them know we can do this, right? We've got a guy who can get past you easily, and we're going to scheme something up to do it. So I think taking the shot is important. I want to see him hit them every now and then, though.
Right, yeah.
Every now and then you got to make a take.
I think if you watch the tape, you're not scared of the deep ball with Auburn, right? So you can take the shot, but like, I mean, if I'm LSU, I'm rolling the dice. The Bo is gonna not hit that pass, and I'm living with whatever the result is because there's nothing on tape that suggests that we're much of a threat beyond 20 yards this season.
Right. And my point is you've got to take the shots though, because you have to make them think, oh, he's at least going to attempt to throw it. And if LSU wants to roll the dice with that, that's on Bo Nix to make them pay, right?
Yeah, agreed.
To take the shot.
If I'm LSU D coordinator, I'm not worried about that until they hit it, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not worried about that till they hit it based on what we produce offensively, right? So, I mean, Schwartz is one of my favorite players. I think he's the most underutilized player in college football, honestly. Like, for the amount of talent and speed that he has, I think he actually has fairly good hands, for a speed guy. We're just not finding creative ways to get him the ball in space.
Not consistently. Like it shows up one game and then it disappears for a couple of games, and that's kind of been indicative of, I think, some of it's game plan, right? Like the game plan is to attack a defense in a certain way, but at some point, like I'll say specifically the South Carolina game, when you see what they're doing to bracket Seth Williams, like you've got to figure out a way to get the ball to other, and we have other playmakers on this team who can be able to do that sort of thing. But let's pivot really quickly. We've only got maybe about 15 minutes here left, and I want to go and start talking about who we want to see as impact players for Auburn. And we will start on the defensive side of the ball. Who are the players that we need to see show up today to make sure, like you need to see them flash on the screen? I'm not talking about statistics. I'm talking about impact, right? Like, we need to see this person's name or their number flash on the screen often in order for Auburn to be successful in slowing down what has been a high-powered LSU offense.
You know what? I want to see Wooden flash more. He's started to flash. He's getting better. He's showing up. Even if he doesn't get to the QB, I want to see those pressures. And I know that is a stat, but if he doesn't absolutely wreck a play, cause a forced fumble, then I want to see him beat his man and get back there and just miss getting to the quarterback before he got the throw off. I want to see him continue to get better. I want to be able to say, you know what, here we are, game 9 of 10 or game 10 of 10 for the season, and I know Wooden's going to get back there. And I want to know that because he started showing it here. Like, we're 5 games in, we're halfway through the season. Guys know their role. People are settling in. I want to see Wooden flash probably more than anybody. If we start getting consistent pressure, man, I can't. It really it helps the whole entire defense settle down and they settle in, and everybody can play a little bit more free and more loose when you can get that pressure on the D-line. So that's what I want to see.
Mike G, what you got?
I'm going to sound like a broken record from week to week here. But my impact player is are you guys still with me? Are you losing?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So it sounded like the sound cut out. Is Smoke Monday, right? I don't know who they're going to put on Terrence Marshall, but this cat is 27 receptions for 512 yards and 9 touchdowns in 5 games. So he's a bad man. The kid that he essentially is the heir apparent of Jefferson, right? It's insane to me that they have a guy that can step in and is going to be 1,000-yard receiver on a shortened season with a brand new quarterback, right? He's an insane talent. We cannot give up his season averages today and keep up in a track meet. So slowing him down with a quarterback in his second start is going to be super important. If Smoke and Co can bottle him somewhat and bottleneck the field just a little bit for this quarterback, it will allow our defense to do some more things. If Terrence Marshall is catching the ball and running wild, I don't see an Auburn victory. So, I want all the smoke. Smoke Monday is my guy for today.
Yeah, I think the guy for me is going to be Zacoby McClain. Zacoby McClain, I think he's due for a big game. And what I anticipate happening in this game, he and Papo are probably going to be in spy duty on this quarterback.
Right.
They were using him a lot in the run game last week, and he's got some elusiveness to him. He's not like the most athletic guy in the world, but he can get outside of the pocket and do some things, and he was very intentional with using his legs last week. So I expect him to be in spy duty, number one, and number two, I do anticipate them trying to go to the screen game to help out the young quarterback this week, right? So that's going to be linebackers being assignment sound and making sure that they know where they need to be. And for me, Zakoby McClain is a guy who he's gotten more reps, of course, with KJ Britt being down. And I need to see him making a lot of plays out there to snuff out some of what they're going to be doing on the edges with either screen games or with their quarterback trying to escape the pocket. So the green dog blitz has always been something Papo's been really good at, where, running back stays in. So that means he's my responsibility. So I'm going to go in and get him. We've been burnt on that a couple of times, though. What's been happening with those green dogs a couple of times is the running back is staying in the block. Quarterback goes to escape the pocket. The running back leaks out behind the green dog blitzer, right? And so we've been getting out into the flat kind of beat on that stuff. So I need to see them be disciplined and making sure that that quarterback has committed to running the ball before we go and attack, or he is still within the pocket before we go and attack. So Zakoby McClain's going to be my guy on defense that I want to see step up. All right, let's flip it to the offensive side of the ball. Who is the person not named Bo Nix? Because, of course, we know Bo Nix needs to be he needs to make sure he is being judicious with the way that he's administrating the ball across the field. But who's a guy on offense that we want to make sure that we hear his name called a lot? And there's an easy one, of course, that you can throw up there. But anybody else besides Bo and Tank?
Schwartz is going to be my guy today. The Seth, I can only assume they're going to put Stingley on Seth Williams, right?
Stingley is definitely going to follow Seth all over the field.
So
when we talk about Terrence Marshall lining up, they're going to line him up all over the place. I doubt we have Jalen Simpson follow Terrence Marshall in one-on-one duty. He's just going to get matched up with I think they're going to see who has the best matchup and continue to exhibit that. So whether it's McCrary on one side and Simpson on the other, whoever's competing the least against Marshall, they'll continue to try to get him in stack. Because what they do a lot, and we're going to get back to the offense here in a second. I just saw the thing about Tut. They do a lot of stack formations to make sure he's getting free releases. And so it's going to be incumbent, like you said, I think it's going to be by committee to stop Terrence Marshall. We're going to have to make sure we're passing off our assignments properly in the back end, and that is going to be Smoke Monday calling that stuff out on the backside. Anyway, get back to the offense. Sorry about that.
No problem. So, to be clear, while I think Terrence Marshall is amazing in terms of potential impact on the game, him and Seth Williams are a dead wash. The only difference is the quarterbacks that are throwing them the ball. Right? From a talent perspective, Seth is 24 receptions for 440 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I mean, that's 3 less receptions, less than, 70 less yards. And obviously he's only got a third of the touchdowns, but that has more to do with Bo Nix and his offense than it does to do with Seth Williams himself. Right. So he could be putting up better numbers with better quarterback production. So again, if Schwartz can get involved in this game plan and take the pressure off the Seth Bo dynamics, it will open up the rest of this offense, right? Now, I am looking for Capers and Eli Stove to get involved. But like we said, I think what a lot of Auburn fans are feeling is the most underutilized player on our team is Anthony Schwartz relative to the talent and the potential value that he provides. Right. So getting him involved in this game, if they can hit a deep ball early, I want to see them take those shots. Right. If they can hit a deep ball early, it opens up a lot of offensive possibilities for Chad Morris, in the first half. And now they don't know what to defend, because if Tank is being Tank and Bo doesn't have to be the savior, and, now those short routes are opening up. Everything underneath is opening up, and you can give Bo some easy throws. Right. So if it's been kind of a hallmark of Gus Malzahn offensive team to take shots early. Right. So we see that. We just have to hit them, man. If we can hit one, right, it opens up a world of options on this offense. And, so Anthony Schwartz, I think, is the guy that you have to look at when it comes to that. I mean, I honestly don't see how you can look at anybody else on this offense and say, this is the next person up. We expect what we expect from Tank. We know who Seth Williams is, but we have to assume they're game planning to shut him down, right? And then you're looking at Stove, Capers, and Schwartz. And out of the three of those, the home run threat is Schwartz. So, Henry Schwartz.
Who you got, B. Will?
I want to say Pegese. Pegese is a big dude. He's a big dude, man. I mean, so they got him coming on the motion before the snap to block. Imagine him getting that handoff on that sweep, on that jet. Man, I want them to get creative with him, which they have been. I don't know if it's because they don't trust him just in standard formations to be a receiving tight end yet. We got one reception from a tight end a couple weeks ago. It wasn't Shanker. It was one of the other guys. Was it Deal? Was it Deal?
I thought Shanker got a reception.
He did, but somebody else got one. Anyway, a lot of
it might have been Deal. Might have been Deal. Yeah,
I think it was Deal. But a lot of the talk this offseason was about the tight ends getting involved more because that's what Chad Morris wants to do. So, like Mike has already said, we haven't seen it. So is it because they know they can't trust Bo Nix? So they're just shelving half of what they wanted to do, or is the tight end production in practice? Are these guys dropping passes? Are they not blocking correctly? What is it? I know they trust Shanker to block. Shanker is really a glorified fullback, to be honest.
Oh yeah, he pretty much is playing fullback in this system. Yeah.
Right. So we know we've got a guy that they trust to block, but he's caught what they've thrown at him. Does he not?
Yeah, he can catch. Listen, he can catch.
Shanker's legit, but I know he's not as dynamic as Deal will be probably later, or as Pegese already and athletic as Pegese is right now. It seems like we've got a perfect tight end between all three of those guys.
Right.
We don't have a perfect tight end that can do everything right now. So I want to see them do a little bit more with it. I suspect they will this game because they haven't yet. So now it's still a question mark. They don't know what to expect. Nobody defending us right now would think that the tight ends are a threat. And I think that's the way you have to have it be. So I want to see the tight end position give some more production. I want that to be Pegese just because I like seeing a dude that big move. Like, it's crazy. But I want to see Pegese wild out a little bit.
You know what's interesting about Pegese, right? Like, and since we're on the subject of tight ends, is tight end has been really underutilized in this system. And we've had some talented ones come through. I was watching CJ Uzomah catch touchdown passes, right? And I just kept thinking, I was like, man, like, he didn't do enough at all. I mean, this guy is good enough to start in the NFL,
right?
But yet didn't produce much at Auburn. So somebody at the pro level understood that this guy had elite talent, and yet he was extremely underutilized in this system. So I agree. I mean, I would love to see again, hit a big pass down the field, and then things should start to open up. And because we haven't seen much from the tight ends, if you start feeding him, what are they going to do? They won't know what to do, right? You've got Tank running the ball. I'm still waiting to see. I don't know. Can Tank catch? Like,
yeah.
I say the Georgia game to me showed that he can catch the ball.
He can catch a bowl like 5 times.
We don't throw him the ball a ton, right? Like, I would love to see, them give Tank as a safety.
DJ Williams out of the backfield. I think somebody just said this, like, we should run more comeback routes for players. Now, that's not the one I saw. I thought somebody said something about the running backs getting open downfield.
Right. But let's address that comment, though, about the comeback routes, right?
Talking about
Kedron, like, if I'm pronouncing your name right, like, the one thing that you'll hear us harp on from week to week is the lack of intermediate pass routes that we've seen over time in this offense. Where are the short slants? Like, the stop, turn, hit them. The only thing I can assume is we don't run those routes because the quarterback can't hit doesn't hit those passes consistently.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem for me, is that those routes require timing, and they require your quarterback having the quarterback either has to have a gun of an arm, which means he can be late but get it there before the DB breaks on it, or he's got to throw with anticipation and know exactly where it needs to be.
Right.
I have not seen that from Bo Nix consistently. His placement of the ball has not been great, and his timing. He has absolutely terrible timing throwing into windows. Like, he's late. He's got it. one of the things about quarterbacks, the best quarterbacks, is you need to throw it before you see it, right? Like you have to anticipate where the window is going to be, know your receiver, meaning you have to have a confidence that the receiver is going to be there in that window and hit him before the window opens up. Because once the window is there, the DBs see that too, and they're reacting. So if you aren't already winding up to get rid of that ball before the window opens, that DB is already breaking on it, right? And he's got to have eye discipline to look off the safeties, which he has not done a good job of. He almost got picked last week throwing the deep ball up the sideline to a wide open guy. If he looks the safety off, that's probably a touchdown. The safety breaks on that and undercuts the route and almost picks it off. If that safety gets looked off before you let that go, that's probably a touchdown, because that's 1 second later that the safety is not breaking on that pass. And there's nobody behind the receiver.
Right.
So it's got to be anticipation. Which is why the slant routes seem to work better for Bo, because it's not as far a throw, right? You're not throwing it to the, from hash to the sideline or from the middle of the field to the sideline. It's a really quick and easy throw. Our receivers have been inconsistent with catching them, and he's been a little behind them on his placement, right?
Definitely.
And so that's the reason why you don't see more of that stuff in this offense. You do see it every now and then, but we've got to make sure that I think the coaches have kind of lost confidence in his ability to hit those. But let me go ahead and give my key to the game real quick, and we'll get back to that comment. For me, it's going to be, is Keandre Jones going to – I don't want to hear Keandre Jones' name getting called often in this game, because he's either getting beat or he's got a lot of penalties, right?
Yeah.
If they're calling his name, they need to be saying how well the freshman is playing in backup duty. For me, the key to this offense is going to be, are we going to miss a step up front with a new guy in there? If they continue to roll how they have been offensively, with that offensive line continuing to produce, with either him or having Troxel coming in and relief duty if he's not playing well, then I think this offense is going to hum this week, because the run game is going to be that significant. Let's get back into this, talking about the offensive ineptitude in the passing game. That they fix his mechanics. I don't know. In a year and a half, like what do you do to teach a kid to because some of the stuff that he does, you don't want him to unlearn, right? Like him throwing off a platform has been good, like sidearming the ball in situations to get, like, those are good things. So you don't want to coach that out of him, but you need to let him understand the routine throws need to come off of a stable platform. And he overcompensates with his arm way too much. You saw that in, I think it was the Arkansas game, where he had a couple of interceptions. He goes to the sideline and he's frustrated. He's having the arguments on the sideline with Seth, and he comes back in the game.
That was
South Carolina, excuse me. And instead of coming back out and getting back to fundamentals, he starts trying to throw the ball harder. And that's not the recipe to complete passes better, is to throw the ball harder. It's to throw it more fundamentally. And that's been the issue, is that he feels like his arm is what's going to get it there. And it's a whole body thing. Your body is just not lined up with your target. You're not doing what you're supposed to do fundamentally to deliver accuracy consistently. You can see him. He's fastballing it when he gets frustrated.
But see, that's part of why he loves Seth so much, because Seth can make something out of nothing. And that's why he favors Seth. So the problem is he's looking for the guy who is like, I don't know. Let me just throw it up there to Seth. And he's going to get it there. Like you said, he's going to gun it all arm. But that's part of the problem, is that we only have one wide receiver who can make something out of nothing. And the defense knows that. So they're going to be significantly covering Seth Williams wherever he's at. And
with one of the best DBs in the game right now.
And that's why the lack of Capers this year is disappointing to me, because he was supposed to be that second possession receiver guy who can just catch the ball in traffic. Kobe Hudson was supposed to be that guy. He's literally had 2 touches this year. He dropped one of them last week. So it's like you want to see a third guy emerge, because we know Eli Stove is not that guy, right? He's going to be a wheel route /
he'll give you a big play here and there. I mean, listen, Stove will catch the ball.
He doesn't have the speed he used to. Yeah. He's definitely a step slower. But Stove he's a reliable guy out there, but he's not a beat man coverage.
He's not a game breaker. He's not.
Right. Right. I think with Bo, again, even in his 23 for 30 performance last week, I bemoaned that some of those complete passes, the mechanics were terrible. He hit a big slant to Seth Williams. When you go back and you look at that play, it's slight, and you have to look at it, but he has to reach back and catch the ball here, and he does it. So, I mean, listen, this is what I'm telling you. Seth Williams is a game breaker. He did it so effortlessly that most fans will look past that and be like, "That was a good throw by Bo." That was not a good throw, right?
Yeah,
that was
tighter coverage. That's probably broken up.
Right. That is great body control by Seth. He catches it and effortlessly throws up. But when the game is tight,
that's the play he actually made the hurdle over the receiver after he made the catch.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was an amazing play by Seth, but nothing about that was the only thing that Bo did right was not throwing it completely behind him. So what I'm looking for is, you have to limit his throws. The game cannot be on his arms unless it absolutely has to in the final minute. And we've seen that he can make some plays at the end of the game, right? At the end of the game, I don't care how he completes it, right? Let's be clear. At the end of the game, if you just got to throw it off your back foot because you're getting chased by three guys, that's what you have to do. So at least he believes in himself enough to make those plays. But I don't want to see that in the first and second quarter, though, right? I think that's the thing. Like you're playing end of the game scenarios in the first half when we don't need to take those chances. So mechanics, to be clear between fundamentals and mechanics, I do want to see him fix fundamentals, but true throwing mechanics you fix in the offseason, you do not fix in the middle of the season, right? Like, if he's got throwing mechanics issues, it's offseason work, right? In-season work, fundamentals, you're talking about stuff that every quarterback should know how to do, right? And in his second year, we honestly shouldn't even be coaching that, right? Like we shouldn't be coaching square your feet and your shoulders and deliver the ball. So the way you mitigate that is to not give him 40 to 50 throws a game, right? Like, give him easy throws where he can square his shoulders and deliver the football. And the more repetition he gets doing that, the more second nature it becomes to him. Keep him in the pocket. Stop having, coach him out of bailing out of plays before he has to, because it just seems to be second nature to him. Break out, roll to my right, try to short, and then you shorten the field, right? It becomes a shorter field to defend. And then every once in a while, he'll throw the ball back across his body, which is the absolute quarterback no-no, right? You do not throw the ball to your left, falling to your right across your body, right? And against this, even though LSU's defense hasn't been what it is, if you do that consistently against good athletes, they're going to get you. Yeah. Right. So, everyone will say, if you watch your standard football broadcast, everybody's going to say the quarterback who doesn't turn it over as much, their team will win. Okay. Yeah. Geniuses. We know that. Right. So what I'll say is we just need him to not make bonehead plays. Right. I can stomach some turnovers if he makes a good throw, and sometimes the DB just gets in and makes a good play and they break something up and if the ball is tipped, I can actually live with that, right? If all other factors considered were ran as designed. What I can't deal with is the improvisation that you take upon yourself that leads to the turnover, the unnecessary improvisation, right? So if we can get rid of that.
His biggest issue with that improv too is that he's a one read and run guy. Like he is a one read. Like if his initial read is taken away, then he bails because and he stays on that read too long because, like, frankly, it is, if they're playing zone in the back end, there are multiple windows usually to those routes, right? Like the first one is taken away by the linebacker, the second one is taken away by the safety. So he's reading the first one. It's like, okay, that's not there. He pulls it down, he resets, and he's like, okay, is that guy open again? And it's like, no, you need to come the other way because now the defense is shading in the direction that you're looking. So the play 9 times out of 10, unless pre-snap has told you that's been taken away by whatever defense they're running, it's going to be on the opposite side of the field. So you have to reset, come down, and see what's over on the. I would have to go back and watch tape. I have yet to see Bo Nix reset and go look in the opposite direction. He went to a check down maybe twice in the last game. And I'd rather, even if it's to the same side of the field, see you go to the check down than pull the ball. Like I think that's a more opt to get yards play than you scrambling out of the pocket and then trying to take off running is to go to a check down that's out here. But I just don't see him go through the progressions of, okay, this is my first read. That's not there. Where's my I just don't see him do that. Like, and you can watch a quarterback and how they are diagnosing the field to see that they're going through check down and progression. He just doesn't do it. He goes first read. It's not there. Oh crap. Let me get out of here. Cause clearly somebody has got to be rushing me at this point. And it's not always the case. He's seeing ghosts out there.
Quick hypothetical for you guys, and if you're still watching, right, like big topic of conversation on our show. How bad does Bo have to play today for us to see the backup? Is there any chance that if this is a blowout going into the third quarter that we actually see the backup?
I think it's got to be a blowout. Like, I think if it's still a close game, they're going to keep him in there, even if he's thrown a couple of picks. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, I only ask because all around the SEC, we're seeing the backups, right? We're seeing Gatewood at Kentucky. You know, LSU is playing their backup. You know, we've seen Mississippi State pull their guy after he threw for 600 yards. Everybody else seems to be able to figure out if the number one guy isn't doing well, or like, you know, I know some of those situations involve injuries, but like, you know, everybody else seems to have a number two that can step in and be serviceable. You know, LSU, I mean, could you have asked for a better performance from a freshman in his first start? Right? Like, 17 for 21 for 260 yards and a couple TDs, and he found his number one receiver for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, I mean, we would take those numbers from Bo. They'd be hailing Bo as the next Joe Montana if he was putting up even those numbers. Yeah. Right? Like, so I am going to be watching this game. I'll remind everyone, I picked Auburn to lose. I did it begrudgingly. But the history of this rivalry, right, and what I've seen from our coaches and the system, so that what it's produced this year is what it's really produced is, to me, a 1-4 football team, because we won a couple games that I'm not sure we deserved to win based on how we played, and we got a little bit of help from the refs. So, like, you know, what I've seen from LSU is a team that clearly took a step back in light of one of the best offensive teams we've ever seen in college football. So we knew that was going to happen. They took a clear
putting up a ton of points. Like, it's not even, like, they're still very good offensively.
Right. Absent of Joe Brady, they still they learned something from that year he was there. Right, clearly, you know, and so
he is still the OC. Joe Brady was the past game.
Ensminger was it Ensminger?
Yeah, he beefed up the playbook, which was honestly the best case scenario for them. He gave their OC more stuff to work with, some more ideas, and more of a more diverse passing game. And now he can just pull the trigger and call the plays. Like,
it took all those concepts, right? Yeah. So like I've still been impressed with LSU. In light of all the talent that they lost, that they were able to just plug a guy in who, you know, he didn't play last week, but he's still like third in the conference in passing yards, right? Like, you know, he's still 1,100 for 11 TDs and only against 3 interceptions. Meanwhile, our guy is 1,100 for only 6 TDs versus 4 interceptions, right? Like, you know, so I'm really not hot on Auburn. Because, again, history of this rivalry, right? They seem to be able to have figured it out offensively. And if we cannot move the ball, if we continue our offensive struggles, this defense isn't built to carry us like they were last year. They're just not, right? They need to feed off some momentum from the offense, right? And then when they do come up with those, remember what I said last week, you know, going into Ole Miss, Corral will throw you the ball. And when he does, you just have to catch it. Right. And they did that. Right. And I think, you know, if they can create some opportunities against this freshman quarterback and we can give them a short field, will we be able to score points? Right. Because if we can't, if we kick a field goal or we punt on, you know, a turnover on their own 40-yard line, it's going to be a really, really long day, right? And I hate seeing our defense get demoralized by the offense's inability to be able to capitalize on turnovers. And then they're back on the field, right? So we cannot lose time of possession, which is why Tank, it's easy to pick Tank as our key to the game every week, because if we're running the ball, we can win time of possession and keep their offense off the field, right?
Yeah.
And so like big game from Tank. If we're going to win this, it's going to be close. It's going to be close, and it's going to be crazy at the end. If we lose this, I just think it'll be over by mid-third quarter. I don't think.
No, I was going to ask B. Will, what's the weather like down there today?
It's cool, crisp. You know what I'm saying? It's actually some nice football weather. We got a high of 68, low of 54, so it'll be mid 60s when we kick, and it's gonna be perfect weather.
Good football weather.
Yeah. So hopefully they got their pads ready to do some hitting today. I want to see our boys flying around out there. Listen, we will be back at you all at halftime, so make sure that you are coming back to just kind of get first half analysis. Of course, as always, please make sure y'all are going to the YouTube, liking and subscribing. We appreciate all the comments that we've been seeing on the YouTube over the weeks. We're starting to see more of you all interact with us. We just want to continue to grow that YouTube following. Of course, as always, Twitter and Instagram, we are there. We'll be live tweeting during the game today, so just make sure you are on the stream on Twitter as well. And then, of course, on TikTok, we're dropping our top 10 every week now on TikTok. So make sure that you are over there interacting with the content that we're doing there. We've got some new content that we'll be putting out, our players of the game over on Instagram. So we're going to be more active on social media. We want you guys to continue to lock in with us. We will be, again, back at you all at halftime of this game, hopefully feeling really good about first half performances from Auburn. Until then, we will see y'all later. War Eagle.